Hello, hello. Good morning. Good morning. Good afternoon. Welcome to the IT Hour. Um, hello, Michael. Hello, Dennis. Hello, Nathan. Hello, Gary, Jeff, Rob, Keith, Nicholas. Welcome, welcome. We have a really good show lined up. Preparing video stream and not stuck this week. Is it good to go? Are we good to go? Are we not preparing? Are we live? Chat? Are we live? Last week we had a problem with it being live.
The doohickey on the lower left says we're live.
Yeah, it does say we're live. Let me look real quick. Make sure we're live here. Yep, it's good. Oh, okay, cool, Nathan. Thanks, Rob. Thanks, Nathan. We had like a 10-second delay, so that's helpful. So the IT Hour, we are it's an interactive conversation. So please feel free to post in the chat, ask questions, participate. You also have the ability to come on stage and chat if you want to. Just know that if you do come on stage and communicate with us, just know that your face and your voice and your likeness will be recorded and broadcasted to the world. So if you do not consent to that, then please do not come on stage and or disconnect from the session now. I'm waiting for it to pop up, but we will probably be also live streaming on YouTube. We have it set up to where it is live streaming on YouTube. So if you are watching on YouTube, it still says it's waiting for us over there. But if you are seeing us on YouTube and you want to participate in our chat, then you got to come to Crowdcast. There is a link in that description. So come on over. There's probably a 20 to 30 second delay. But I think we've been here longer than that, so it's probably going to be not working. But if you are, then come hang out. Of course, letting us know anything about the IT Hour, how you like it, how you don't like it, any suggestions, please feel free to do so. You can find us at community@jumpcloud.com. You can also find us at our community board at community.jumpcloud.com. as well as our Slack lounge. You can also comment on our YouTube videos after the stream is complete and posted on YouTube. So today we have a pretty good show. We've got Greg Armanini here with us. We're going to talk about some unified endpoint management. We're going to talk about some community updates, minor releases of Jumpcloud. And if we have time, we will get to a hot seat. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to refresh my screen over on YouTube. It doesn't say it's live yet, but that's okay. All right, so let's just kick things off here. We have a very special guest today. We have Greg here from Jumpcloud to talk about Unified Endpoint Management, or UEM. So maybe, Greg, you want to go ahead and just introduce yourself and kick it off?
Sure. Hey, yeah, so I guess the long and short of it is I run product management for devices here at Jumpcloud. And so that's the big part of the portfolio. And really what I wanted to do today is just talk a little bit about where we're going. I think that in the market, and for Jumpcloud especially, the definition of device management's evolving. And so really just want to talk directional, but obviously happy to have a really interactive conversation and share thoughts on anything really. In terms of history for me, I've been doing this for lots of years. I was a very early workspaces person, and have been doing end user compute for a long time. So pretty excited to be chatting. So let me just share my screen. I apologize for slideware. I think sometimes this will be a good way to at least foster some conversations. And we can then, just use it as a jumping off point. Okay, hold on. All right, so device management. So the first thing I wanted to just get across as a point, a lot of people are like, okay, wait, what is device management? What's the difference between what Jumpcloud does and what the rest of the industry does? What should we expect? And really, the way to think about it is, Jumpcloud is just like we are going to become your trusted partner, right? That one directory to rule them all. We're going to help you with the life cycle of the end user and devices. So we're thinking about device lifecycle and management, from a soup to nuts perspective. So everything from, onboarding to, of course, device config, managing the software and the security, and of course, giving you reporting. I think it's pretty straightforward. I think some of the things, though, that you'll recognize right away that are new, we're representing all of the OSs. So to date, we've been mostly a desktop management platform. And that's because we've been around a long time. And honestly, Jumpcloud predates, some of the modern management techniques. But more and more, what we're thinking about here is evolving to manage all of the major OSs, so both desktop and mobility, and really giving you a complete view of that. So the way to think about it is Jumpcloud's really becoming a modern management platform. So full UEM, as we like to say. And, in terms of okay, what's the difference between what we're saying here versus what's this MDM thing, right? Because today we talk a lot about MDM. And at the risk of, boring you to tears, I just wanted to jump to this slide, which I think is a good embodiment of, what somebody who's in the business would be thinking technically about what UEM versus MDM is. So MDM, right, is basic device management. It was the first sort of, device level tool that came after sort of traditional PCLM. So using a new protocol, of course, not using the old GPO style thing. That evolved into EMM, right, which is adding devices in the mix, and the notion of BYOD became a thing. UEM really is where the industry is mostly now. And what that is doing is really, it's a maturation story. And most importantly, it starts to bring in concepts like identity and having all of the OSs encapsulated in a life cycle. At least that's the definition we think of here. So, and in fact, if you think about Jumpcloud as a platform, right, this is where, we really are going to stand out over time, because our device management, our identity management, and our analytics plane are all literally in the same platform, which is not actually true of a lot of other organizations. It's sort of a bolted-on Frankenstein solution that in many cases has come out of acquisitions. And that translates for you folks to be less easy to use. So our mission is going to be to provide a lot of these things that you need to consolidate those things into a single platform view. And of course, if you look further to the right, there is a notion of UES, so Unified Endpoint Security, that is evolving. That's an evolving conversation. We do Zero Trust today at Jumpcloud, but you're going to see over time with continuous evaluation and a few other things that there will be more of a platform level view of Zero Trust that comes into play within Jumpcloud and the industry in general. Today, it's sort of a mixed bag with Zero Trust in particular, because it's how you define it as an individual organization. There's no true standard. So with that being said, I want to shift focus to, I'll say, platform investment areas. So the idea is that what you should expect from Jumpcloud and what we need to do to be successful is we're making investments in core areas of the product, as well as what I'll say are advanced management. I think it's no secret that most admins are doing the basics, right, at a high degree of depth at Jumpcloud, but not everybody's doing advanced, or maybe they have another platform. So the way to think about it is, this year and beyond, we're investing in, each platform we support needs to have a zero-touch onboarding flow. We need to make sure we're supporting both corporate and BYO use cases. So think about both iOS and Android as mobility stories coming into the mix. Making sure that we're getting to a greater degree of depth, right, on device level management. So our policies are going to continue to get more robust. And then we also need to bring in the notion of user level policies, right? The ability to manage a mail config or something like that on a device is a missing piece of the equation, and that's something we'll be adding. There's, of course, a lot of stuff that we talk about today on the advanced side that we'll continue to evolve and invest more in. Improving passwordless is a big story for us. You've already heard about patching. Patching evolves into baselining, right? I don't think that's a secret in compliance. Asset management, you'll hear more about, as well as evolution of device compliance and zero trust. So that's a lot, but I just want you to get a sense of where we're investing. And here endeth the lesson. So in terms of questions, I'm happy to go back, talk about specific topics, or if you guys have any kind of question about how the platform should work, or what your one thing you would want us to do right this year, holler. So let me know.
Yeah, we didn't see any questions come in. I mean, we've got a lot of information that just came in there, right? As far as it pertains to UEM, or unified endpoint management, taking things such as your Windows, your Apple, your Linux, mobile devices, really having the ability to manage all of them in one place. I think there's a lot of meat there, right? And so if we kind of talked about, like, hey, so we have MDM. MDM is a thing. What's the difference between, say, MDM versus UEM, right? Because MDM, everyone seems to think that MDM is what that is, but maybe you can touch a little bit more around that, dive a little bit deeper into that as far as what the difference is between MDM and UEM. Greg?
Yeah, so in general, right, MDM is device level, right? It's not really focused on user level management. User level management's where it's at for the long haul, right? So it's the difference between having let's say an iOS device where you just have a device level profile on it, device level password, versus having a device, an iOS device that you onboard a user to, that allows them to authenticate, let's say without a password. Maybe they can enroll and there's a certificate, or another authent method that's baked into the platform. And you're able to drop down apps, of course, via VPP, or perhaps through a different repo, an internal repo. You can apply policies automatically, right, for the user, right? Wi-Fi, email, right? And they would be properly encrypted. But the point is that you're mixing user level and authentication level events into it. So today, what we do is, I wouldn't call it true UEM. We do drop a device trust cert on, but we're not really, yet doing what I would call a modern management play, soup to nuts. So as an example, you probably all know that when we manage a device, we do local account takeover on the desktop, and it works great. It predates, modern management. In a modern management sense, right, you should be able to have your device domain joined to anywhere, and we should still be able to add value. The way to think about it is, hey, Windows may have a federated credential provider at login. Jumpcloud should be able to jump in there, even if the device is Azure AD joined, something like that. So when I think about UEM, I'm thinking about it more broadly from the perspective of, authentication, but it doesn't necessarily even require Jumpcloud to be the authoritative source. We could be maybe syncing or storing a hash of a password from another directory, or more appropriately, we should have a third-party IDP relationship where we could outsource it to Google, or conversely, we could be the identity source for Microsoft, right? If you wanted to do an Autopilot flow. So there's a lot of nuances to what it means to be UEM, but in short, it's a platform that supports, identity baked into device management, that is more flexible in terms of standards. So expect to see, if it's Windows, expect to see, WS trust profile supported at some point in the future, as well as OIDC, in addition to what we support with SAML. So there's a lot of inbound, outbound identity sharing that has to happen to allow you to basically drop down, the right experience for an end user that includes management plus, the authentication. So that's kind of it in a nutshell, is a modern management solution. And our commitment is to make sure we provide choice to our admins to do what they need to do. We recognize that when you have UEM, that Jumpcloud will not be the sole provider of every piece of the puzzle, and we're going to give you options to be flexible and do what you need.
Perfect. A couple of questions here from the chat. Ryan, we can talk about automation, webhooks, and triggers. Those are things that I know that we've talked about in the past. But we'll maybe I'll get somebody that can talk more about that on a future episode. But I don't think that we can touch on that right now.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'll jump in and just say my read on that, and I may not be thinking about the way Ryan is. I will say part of a UEM and part of a directory platform will be workflows. So the way I think about it is, we'll be investing more in creating the notion of smart groups, for instance. And you could create a smart group on a user or on a device, basically arbitrary objects that you could then say, on new device enrollment, anybody who is in the US plus ISMAC is in this smart device group, and they get these policies applied. Anybody in Europe on a Mac becomes this smart group and gets those policies applied. So, we're thinking about triggers as a platform. It's going to take us a bit to get there. But we are thinking about it, Ryan, if that's what you're thinking about. Hopefully that makes sense. Very direct, but we're aligned, I think.
I think what Ryan's talking about, and this would be a good carry-on topic, would be like events, kind of like how like Zapier or those kind of middleware programs function, where it's like, hey, an event happens in Jumpcloud, a user is added, and that event can kick off to a webhook for other automations or whatever the case might be. And so those are things that I know that we've talked about. I know that we're kind of working towards in a different way. So
the way to think about all of this, right? And the reason why I talked about smart groups, you have to have a base to build workflows on. So step one is you of course need sources of information, right? You need to have external directories. You need to have both devices and users represented in the platform. Then you need to be able to create context, and you create context and triggers with smart groups. Once you have those pieces in place, then you just have a series of if-then statements that become your Zapier style workflows. So think about it like that. And that's why, like so many people, as an example, ask about the notion of, hey, when a device enrolls, can I apply end policies, on first enrollment? And that's an event, that's a trigger that we could hard code, but we could also do it via smart groups. So we're thinking about that and how we add that value. But it's exactly what you're thinking. I'm just sort of sharing some sausage making.
Whew. So I know us API and automation nerds are excited about that. So Dennis with a quick question here, and I know we're running out of time for this particular topic, but I guess we can go a little bit longer. What are your thoughts on policy parity across device platforms? So I know that, some APIs and operating systems have different feature sets, but I think what he's getting at for Dennis is that, hey, we have a lot of policies for, say, Windows and for Mac, not so much for Linux, stuff along those lines, and also for iOS and Android. What is your perspective on just like policy parity across all the devices?
Yeah, so I think we're going to be investing in a lot more depth So we are already starting down that journey to build out more policies. And I think the evolution will be, imagine us covering all the most important 80%. The way MDM frameworks work, there's always something new. So it's always a triage game. And, every fall we'll do day zero support for the new things, of course. But, we're definitely going to get to as close to parity across the platforms as possible. Desktop will come first, followed by mobility. But the way to think about it is that we'll have all these policies, but the next thing is to group them in sensible ways. So if you remember what I was sharing earlier about device policies, user policies, etc., we'll have them categorized in a way that you'll have a button to say, I want a SOC compliance desktop policy set. You won't care under the covers, what we're doing on Windows or Mac or Linux, but they will have an equivalence there. So we're thinking both about having depth, making sure that the use case that you need is covered, and doing it in kind of an easy way. You'll of course be able to go in advanced mode and roll your own, but we're looking to get the level of depth you need to feel like we've covered all the bases. So
nice.
Yeah.
Question from Nathan. Who's working on this, right? Is this a single group inside of Jumpcloud, or are there multiple groups involved? Obviously, having management across multiple devices can get kind of complicated. So to different functionalities, and also making sure it's reliable, stuff like that. So what's our level of commitment as far as who's working on this, and what are the teams looking like?
Yeah. So the way I'd characterize it, this is, a top investment area for the company. And we have a pretty decent team in terms of size, and it's growing. So we have teams looking after each OS now. We have core teams doing that. So you may have seen we're, just released iOS. We have a team looking at Android. So every OS is getting staffed. And then we have sort of an evolution occurring as well, where we're looking across at certain use cases, like the patch product that you just saw released was a team that was in overlay mode across all the platforms. They started with Windows and Mac. You'll see we're launching Linux. Over time, you'll start to see that will keep going. So we're thinking about it in a way to create a uniform experience. We know that the mileage varies on each platform. But our commitment is to achieve, as I said earlier, if we're, how do we do zero touch onboarding on each OS, right? Mac, we do it. Of course, we need to make sure that, we're, doing all of the things right for the ADE flows. We'll look to figure out how to do it with Microsoft, of course, as well, in a uniform way. So on the admin console, you'll say zero touch for Windows and Mac and Linux if possible, excuse me, and mobility. And then what we do under the covers, you shouldn't have to worry about. There will be details, of course, right? So, and we'll be curious to get your feedback over time. As an example, if we do zero touch for Windows, right, that translates to a lot of folks as Autopilot. And that means you need to have some kind of Azure relationship. And that may be the case and good for some customers. And if so, we'll ultimately support that. But other folks may not want that, and they may want more of an out-of-box experience that they could be using a light imaging story. So we'll look to support both models. So there will be cases where it's not uniform, but we want to achieve the outcome that you need, which is zero touch in a uniform way.
Yeah, thank you. And that actually touched on the next question, which was from Jeff. So he was talking about, are we looking at something similar to Windows System to replace Intune? And I think that kind of nailed it right on the head there, as far as, hey, we have policies, we have the ability to push things. And as far as Autopilot or zero touch for Windows, what is that, Autopilot or some other type of out-of-box type situation where you don't want to have that Azure environment as well? So
yeah. And just a little more detail there, right? So Windows is a little more complicated, right? Just because of in part, frankly, the way Microsoft does business and just the nature of Windows itself. And we'll probably in the near term be looking to make recommendations. So we may say, hey guys, use NT Lite to easily customize an image. and put the agent on it, and then give you some recommendations on tools to sort of deploy that image and boot the image more seamlessly. And so you do sort of an internal staging flow. So we'll look to support that. But you're right. I mean, in order for us to support Autopilot, that means the Windows platform needs to evolve into more of an MDM. And that's something we're looking at as well. So over the long haul, it's a no-brainer to say, yes, we'll do both based on your needs.
Yeah. Nice. And I think, Greg, really appreciate your time. Last little question that came in from Ryan, basically around software distribution. Right now, it's kind of a friction point for a lot of IT admins, especially when it comes to, like, say, zero touch. Is there anything that we might be able to share on any improvements in that area? Such as, because right now we have to spin up repos, repackage, signing Mac OS's, apps, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Anything in that arena that we might be able to sprinkle a little of excitement on?
Well, so we're of course going to be continuing to invest in what we're doing today. So Apple VPP, that's probably in the best state. I know there's mixed emotions about things like Chocolatey and having to deal with that. We're evaluating both, what we can do to make the Chocolatey experience more pleasant. Some of you may have seen that we're looking to, improve on the payload limits of deployments today. So that we're going to make progress on. So in other words, we're looking for short-term wins, but yeah, I think ultimately on our side, we will have to create some kind of repo for our customers, and allow you to do, internal app distribution. But that's something that we're just starting to kick up the conversations on. I guess suffice to say, I don't have a specific answer for how we're going to handle it, other than to say that it's a hot topic right now. We know we need to improve software distro. And we know we need to make it very similar across each platform. And so you should look to hear more, especially as we start to toe into third-party app patching. Some of these conversations might come more into focus.
Cool. Thanks, Greg, so much. I appreciate that. That was awesome. I think that a lot of people got a lot of information. I, for one, would love, similar to how we have our serverless applications for directory insight on Amazon, I would love to just have a click and launch serverless repo that you can just click one button and have it connect directly into Jumpcloud. That would be really cool. So we'll see. Who knows? Maybe I'm foreshadowing. I don't know. Yeah. Maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm not. Maybe it's all just a ruse. Who knows? So thanks, Greg. I appreciate you. And well, if you have any more questions for Greg, don't hesitate to reach out. He's in the Slack lounge. He can answer some questions as well. Yeah, thanks so much, Greg.
All right. Cheers, everyone. Thanks.
Next up, we have, my face got real big. Next up, we have, let me bring Becky and Alexa back on here. Bring Becky in. We're going to have Becky do our community update. And then we'll have Alexa do our meetup update. So welcome back, or welcome, Alexa and Becky. Becky, if you want to just take over and do our community updates, that'd be great.
What? I don't know how to take over. I never do that. I don't know what you're talking about. Hey, everybody. Hello. I'm back. We mixed things up today and put it in different order so we could get Greg in first. You can't hear me, right? Like, I just want to make sure. Okay, good. Just double checking. It's been a day. It's been a week. All right. So let me find my info in my document here so we can get going. Community. Boy, it's been busy and fun. Let's see. So coming soon. First off, coming soon. I have been working on the career spotlight. I think I mentioned this last week. I do have some things lined up, getting those interviews in place. It's going to be really cool. I'm excited about everybody that we have lined up. We're asking each person 5 questions about their career, and we've got some really interesting and varied answers. And I'm just getting some graphics together so we can have some cool images to go with it. And then I'll be launching that. You may have seen that we're starting to post the previous IT hours on the community, along with the our rapid fire notes, so that you can go back and see what we referenced. So go take a look at that. That's going to be fun. We're hoping that you will be able to comment and carry on the conversation afterward, if you are so inclined. And if you have any follow-up questions, just tag Ben and he'll take care of it. Not me. Tag Ben. And reminder about the beta signups thread. If you haven't seen it, we'll post another link in the comments, but sign up if you're interested. We are getting that going soon. And as always, if you have any feedback or questions, you can ping us in the community or in Slack or email us, community@jumpcloud.com. We will also put that in the comments at some point. Either I will or Ben will. Community spotlight. So we're trying to pull some interesting or different conversations that are going on. And this week, I thought I would highlight Invergen's question about how others are dealing with the issue of trying to organize and manage groups across their organization's IT and business systems. He had a really good question there. But I also wanted to mention that Stephen had a really great detailed reply about how they break things down in their organization, because he looks like he spent a lot of time detailing that. And so just wanted to give you both a shout out and a thank you for doing that. And I promise I will not make this the Stephen show this week, but he also did another long form helpful content around what they did at their company with the Jumpcloud API and HR and asset management. And in that post, he reviewed the various iterations of their dashboard and asset management tools. And I think it was like on the 5th iteration. Man, he really took some time to document that. So if you haven't seen it, go do that. He gave some really useful information there. So thank you, Stephen, for doing that. And I did a quick blog post and want to just point you all to that, because this is about how to enable reply to posts via email. And this is a new feature that we put up just recently. And what I'm trying to do is occasionally post tips on how to use the community, new features and things like that, just to point out different things you can do. And this one is not enabled by default, unfortunately. So I wanted to point out that if you enable this in your settings, you can, when you subscribe to a board or a topic, when you get an email, there's a little reply link in there that you can click, and you can just use your email to reply. You don't have to jump over to the community if you're busy, but you go, oh, I want to respond to that. You can just do it right there while you're in your email. So that can be pretty helpful. I use it quite a bit when I'm in the midst of checking email and I go, oh, I want to do that. And that way I don't forget to come back later. So it kind of works with my workflow and everything. So that's handy. It's very handy. Oh, and yeah. Steven says, yeah, well, you should 100% make it the Steven show. I'm pretty fun. Well, then, you should just come up on stage and join us.
Yeah.
During the rapid fire or something. And
I don't see you coming on stage there. All talk, all bark.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of which, no. So again, I just want to remind everyone that we are streaming live on YouTube as well this week. We had a couple of people stop in the YouTube channel and watch. So if you do want to engage in the chat and the conversation, head on over to Crowdcast. We have the link in the description. So that is the halfway mark reminder for people who are tuning in late on YouTube. So, and if you missed the first part of it, that's okay. We're not perfect. Only I am. And Steven, but no, you can always catch the first part of the show on the VOD when it's all complete. So next up we have Alexa with our meetup updates.
Awesome. Yes. Hello, everyone. Thank you again for having me. So yeah, Alexa Emerson here, Community Events Manager here at Jumpcloud. And we had a super exciting week this week in the meetups world. We had our first in-person meetup for our Chicago group, which was awesome. Shout out to Steve Larson from the 1871 for hosting the event. But the group had a really great turnout. They had 11 attendees show up, which is amazing for their first one. They enjoyed some refreshments and just got a chance to network and chat and have a little bit of fun, and finally got to meet in person. So yeah, it was great. We got some really great feedback and just, yeah, a great opportunity for admins to kind of get together. We also had virtual kickoff meetups for our Houston, San Diego, and Raleigh groups, which was a lot of fun. We got to meet some new admins, and we also got some really good insight on some future discussion topics. So we could, of course, talk about some specific things, like they mentioned security and automation, but they also mentioned talking a bit more broadly about general IT. And that's kind of a theme we actually keep seeing come up. So we're exploring some conversations around like a day in the life of an IT admin, and taking some time in the meetups to just talk about the day-to-day. So finding out if you're facing the same kinds of situations as your peers, and then seeing how we can help each other through certain obstacles and challenges. So looking forward to that. Because along those lines, we are starting to plan for next month. So as always, make sure that you're a part of our member network, and I will, of course, drop the link in the chat to make sure that you are up to date on all of our event announcements. And then just one last thing, I mentioned this last week, but I'll mention it again. We're also exploring, in addition to the meetups that we host, we're exploring some external sponsorship opportunities. So let us know if you know about or if you're involved in some good tech communities in your area, because we would love to get involved in any way that we can. So feel free to reach out to us. But yeah, Meetups has been a lot of fun. So make sure that you're a part.
Yay, Meetups. I like Meetups. I wish I could just go to all of them in person, but you know,
Same.
Jumpcloud won't pay for my airfare. So sad day. All right, I'm over it. Okay, so thanks. We're gonna go ahead and segue and transition over into our Jumpcloud product news, minor release updates. These are the ones that don't get all of the go-to-market fanfare, even though all releases are super exciting and super fun. These are the ones that just, you know, kind of happen, and you know, they might get communicated with email or notifications, but they're usually slide under the radar. So the first one, if you're in our Jumpcloud Slack lounge, if you're in the community, you know this one came up, and you know, we know what kind of pains that caused, but this is actually a good thing. The Jumpcloud agent version 1.9.1 was updated, and what it does is, with this new feature, it looks to see if there's a Jumpcloud service account detected on the machine. The service account is necessary in order to manage secure tokens on your Mac machines and hand them out when new users are provisioned on those machines. So if we don't have a service account, then we can't manage secure tokens, and or we can't really escrow file vault keys very well. So the utility that's built into the agent will then pop up and say that you need to remediate this by logging in with an admin account through the tool, and that'll create the service account for you. Now, this was something that was in the admin panel for a while under the details page of the devices that showed that your machines needed some attention to correct those service account issues, but now there's a pop-up on your end users, which is really cool. It kind of helps with those machines that are you know, not loaded with a service account for management. So that came out just recently. Some more other cool, exciting releases is that you can now require biometrics as an additional user verification on the Jumpcloud Protect app. Woo, woo. So user verification is a security measure that verifies the person authenticating to a service is in fact who they say they are. The device must support biometric verification or PIN/passcode verification, and this can be enabled in the MFA configurations page. So go check that out if you want people to have to use their biometrics to log in to the Protect app to get the push code. Then go ahead and do that. I don't know who in your organization might not like you for that, but it's a really cool feature nonetheless. I like it. I think it's a pretty cool security step. We also launched a brand new account page. Woo woo! This is something that has been on the burner for a while, and it's been kind of one of my asks for a long time of like, why don't we have this? You know, this was something that I felt like we probably should have had a while ago, but we had a lot of focus on a lot of really cool things going on. So little late, but you know what? It's really cool. So this is an account page where admins can view their billing information, such as their subscription information and soon invoices. So you'll be able to see right below the MFA configuration, right below settings, you'll see an account button on there. You'll be able to see things such as your current plan, associated features, add-ons will appear as that. Recommend upgrades if using features outside of your plan, contract type, whether you're monthly or annual, price per user, number of committed users, number of additional users, so any kind of overages that you currently have, current high watermark, and upcoming billing estimate based on the information that is displayed in there. This is also where your credit card information, mailing address, and billing address will live. No more modals that pop up that display that. And then also in future releases here coming soon, we'll have invoices. So if you need to go back and reconcile invoices, we'll have invoices displayed in there as well. So really great work. If you remember a while back, we were looking for like Salesforce engineers and admins and that kind of stuff, and all of our stuff lives in Salesforce. And so getting that stuff out of Salesforce and putting it into the admin panel has been a huge lift, and something that I am happy that we finally have in the admin panel directly. So, and then also just kind of not really a release or an update, but more so just kind of like a status update real fast. Right now, in the next 30 days, ladies and gentlemen, we have 31 new features and updates around the entire product being delivered in just the next 4 weeks. So that's 31 different features and updates. And it could be something from minor, such as just changing a field, to major releases, such as like Linux patch management. So, yeah. Keith, if you see things are incorrect, then just reach out to your account manager in that account page and make sure everything is updated properly. A couple questions real fast before we segue into IT trending rapid fire. Steven, regarding biometrics, do you know if it's been requested that the console use Mac Touch ID as an MFA? I don't think I think we do have that in our pipeline, but we don't have it currently scoped for work at the moment. But it is something that I know that we are researching and looking at to see if we can. It's part of our passwordless agenda, where we want to try to do the passwordless authentication, and that would be part of it. So can protect biometrics be set to require users individually, or is it only on account wide setting? So it is on an account wide setting at the moment. So you have it set up to where you can either enforce it, or if they have it on their phone, that's when it will ask, right? But so you have a couple different options. You can say, hey, if you already have biometrics on your device and configured, then it's going to ask you for it. Otherwise, you can enforce them to have biometrics. But it is, as of right now, it is just the entire organization account wide. Maybe in the future, we'll have it based off of groups or by user. So cool. That is the questions. So now we're going to segue over into, and we're moving fast. This is the hot seat. So now I'm in the hot seat to see if we can end on time. And we have 5 people on YouTube watching. We had 6. So again, last warning, if you're on YouTube, head over to Crowdcast, link in the description. That's where you can get involved in the chat, especially for the hot seat. So the hot seat is a fantastic, fun, wonderful time where we get to talk about news headlines that happen in the IT world over the last week that I kind of just looked at and curated a little bit that I thought were interesting. So you really get to see what my mind thinks about. And then you can make funny comments about it, which, Becky, no, just leave it. Okay. So let's go ahead and kick it off. Oh, and if you do win the best comment or best comment in the chat, you will receive some Jumpcloud swag and a Jumpcloud prize that we'll send out to you. So
no feet.
No,
we don't have. We checked the inventory.
Yeah.
We don't have any feet. Sorry.
No feet, but I did send out some socks last time. So
did you just ruin the surprise?
No, I didn't. That's been like a week now. Anyway, so cool. First up, on 9 to 5 Mac, basically what they were talking about was we are 2 months away from Apple announcing iOS 16, but there are already some rumors about the update floating around the web. Bloomberg journalist Mark Gurman this week reported that iOS 16 will bring updates to the notification system and code found in Apple's latest beta software corroborates that, just among some other things. I did also see some things about the focus modes. They're going to be adding some more focus modes, which is kind of cool. I like focus modes. I use the sleep one a lot. Oh my God, iOS is almost a legal adult. It can drive. Nice. Rob says he can fix that. He knows a guy for a foot. Okay. That's just weird. That's dark, Rob. We don't want to go there. Okay.
Not say anything. Rob.
just oh, Rob.
We're gonna have to moderate Rob.
Can we get a collective in the community? Everyone just say, "Oh, Rob."
Now you're going back. Now you're going back to Mary Tyler Moore. Oh, Rob.
Oh, Rob. Okay, so next up on the headlines, Microsoft aims to streamline certificate lifecycle management with Endpoint Manager. Yeah, that's right. I'm not scared.
Wait. Microsoft streamlined something?
Yes.
Okay.
It's in Microsoft's way, but Microsoft aims to streamline certificate lifecycle management with Endpoint Manager. So per Petrie, Microsoft Endpoint Manager is getting a new cloud certificate lifecycle management solution for public key infrastructure, or PKI. The company says that this release will enable IT admins to deploy certificates directly within Endpoint Manager. For those unfamiliar, the PKI is an encryption framework that enables entities to protect communication between the client and the server. It allows the owner to encrypt data, digitally sign documents, and authenticate users, devices, and services with certificates. The PKI generally consists of elements such as a digital certificate, certificate authority, registration authority, as well as certificate database. Okay. Moving over to chat. Scary that iOS can drive. Microsoft always streamlines their money flow. Yes, Rob, I agree. But we're not here to talk bad about Microsoft. This is actually really fun because it's interesting. That's a direct competition to us, right? And I know that we're working on PKI stuff here at Jumpcloud. That was on the roadmap webinar. And so it's very interesting that now Microsoft, and again, Microsoft has said many times over that pure Active Directory is no longer fully sufficient. And you see that with their initiatives with, say, Azure AD, and now these PKI approaches and trying to get things into the cloud with another thing that I'm going to show here in a second. So yeah, definitely this is interesting, and I like seeing this. So just imagine SCCM in the cloud doing certificates. I'm not scared. That's what Jeff says. Michael, no, they don't actually waste. Yes.
Oh, yeah. Regarding the streamline their money flow.
Yeah.
That's
exactly. Also, Microsoft Endpoint Manager is to get automating device vulnerability management feature for third-party apps. So Microsoft is also adding an automated device vulnerability management feature to Microsoft Defender for Endpoint and Endpoint Manager for third-party apps. This new capability brings continuous detection assessment and automated app patching to help IT teams reduce security risks in their organization. These new management capabilities were announced at Microsoft's Windows 11 hybrid work event last week, though there is no precise ETA at the moment. The company will be sharing more specifics about these improvements over the coming months. So
I wonder about, okay, so let's talk about this for a second.
Yeah.
Seriously, because I was just at a cybersecurity thing last night, and are people really going to trust something like that? I mean, seriously, for just 1 second, would you actually trust something like that from a big vendor like Microsoft? Or would you be more likely to trust something that came from a smaller app vendor who would help you scan for vulnerabilities regularly? Because let's face it, small, medium businesses aren't going to be able to afford something really huge, but they need to be able to scan for vulnerabilities all the time, right? You need to be able to assess that. But are you going to trust Microsoft to do that? Truly?
Good question.
Are they going to do a good job at it? I mean, what do you guys think in the chat?
Yeah, so Rob, so come with the comments here. Rob says the biggest issue with going to Microsoft for this is that while they have been doing okay with multi-platform support, I'm not so sure them doing well with Mac OS over longer term. And I agree. Like Windows Defender, I use Windows Defender as my antivirus. Like that's really all that I need because I know what I'm doing on the internet. And it's actually, one of those, it's actually, people don't realize this, but it is a next gen antivirus built into your operating system. So it's pretty good. But again, I don't know if it's something that it could be used on enterprise. Michael, dealt too often with them when I ran a user group up here in the high desert. Wait, Microsoft is going to update third party? Okay, that's news. Yes, it is to Endpoint Manager for third party apps. Yep. Michael, we have seen nothing that makes us comfortable with macOS and Microsoft. I'd lend more credence to the smaller, medium businesses. So that's onto your point there. Jeff, who answers your comment or answers your question there, Becky, just honestly, no. Michael is saying that Microsoft could bail on it whenever they want. Jeff saying that, or they can include it in Intune and charge companies up the Intune. Get it? Rob saying that at least they don't bail as quickly as Google on products. So interesting. It's interesting to see Microsoft making some moves there in that regard. Speaking of which, and this is back to what I was talking about before about basically extending your Active Directory environment into the cloud, right? So AWS SSO, we all know that, right? We all know AWS SSO. So they launched a configurable synchronization for Microsoft Active Directory. So if you use Microsoft Active Directory as your identity source with AWS single sign-on, you can now configure your list of users and groups to synchronize from AD into AWS SSO and pause synchronization. With configurable synchronization, you can synchronize users and groups consistent with your data sovereignty requirements. You can also pause synchronization when necessary and synchronize during desired hours. Previously, all your AD entities were available for AWS SSO assignments. Now you can limit which of your AD identities are available for assignment by specifying which users and groups to synchronize from AD into AWS SSO. Additionally, you can now synchronize and assign access to nested groups within the parent group, which means you can manage what is synchronized by controlling group membership in AD.
AWS, all your entities belong to us.
So many acronyms, just make me winded. As an SMB startup, we are more comfortable with smaller companies like Jumpcloud and other dedicated SaaS providers, from Nathan in chat.
Thank you, Nathan.
Thanks, Nathan. Rob, when it comes to small versus large SaaS providers, I found the quality is inversely proportional to the cost of the service. I mean, what's that old ad of, Rob, that you get what you pay for? Right? I don't know if it's actually true all the time, but I think it kind of is. Michael saying, I prefer organizations that are able to react quickly. True. Nathan, looking forward to hearing about it. Oh, security is always a topic of interest for us. And Michael saying that Jumpcloud can do that. Correct. Yes, we do have an AWS SSO SCIM integration that allows you to manage identities into AWS SSO. We've had that now for a couple of months. It works really well. I'm thinking about doing a YouTube video on it, but we'll see.
Do it.
Do it.
Do it.
Do it. I did pull a list of all of the top SSO applications that our customers are integrating with, and that's part of my SSO series. So, all right, cool. Moving on. Introducing the wow. Why can't I word today? Google announces that they introduced the Professional Cloud Database Engineering certification course. So Google announced a new Professional Cloud Database Engineer certification in beta to help database engineers translate business and technical requirements into a scalable and cost-effective database solution. By participating in the beta, you will directly influence and enhance the learning and career path for other cloud database engineers. And upon passing the exam, you will become one of the first Google Cloud certified cloud database engineers in the industry. Chat. Rob saying that it's not true. He's never seen a $2 million a year program worth anything, worth a dime. He used a different D word, but I'm gonna say dime. If you're curious about what that is in YouTube, come into chat.
Are you afraid? Are you afraid of saying that?
What, that word?
That word.
What,
on
damn?
YouTube?
No, I'm not afraid of saying damn on YouTube. I'll say damn all day.
Okay, just checking.
The Kevin Hart skit comes to mind now. My mom said to mind you.
Just checking.
Just checking.
I mean, yeah, there are some of the 10 words by George Carlin that I might not say.
Yeah, yes, indeed. And then last but not least, according to Hacker News, critical auth bypass bug reported in Cisco wireless LAN controller software.
Oh, wait, should I cover up my shirt? I'm wearing a Cisco shirt today.
Yeah. I let you walk into that one, Becky.
Yeah, you sure did. Thanks, Ben. Appreciate you.
Cisco has released patches to contain a critical security vulnerability affecting the wireless LAN controller WLC that could be abused by an unauthenticated remote attacker to take control of an affected system. Where's Rob? Here we go, Rob. Some numbers: CVE-2022-20695. The issue has been rated 10 out of 10 for severity and enables an adversary to bypass authentication controls and log into the device through the management interface of WLC. Quote, this vulnerability is due to the improper implementation of the password validation algorithm, the company said in an advisory. An attacker could exploit this vulnerability by logging into an affected device with crafted credentials. Successful exploitation of the flaw could permit an attacker to gain administrator privileges and carry out malicious actions in a manner that allows a complete takeover of a vulnerable system.
Yikes.
That vulnerability. Yeah.
Quick, Ben, what's CVE?
What?
What does CVE mean? Quick.
I don't freaking know. Certified vulnerability. Yeah.
Common vulnerability.
Common vulnerability exposure. Yes. Thank you. On the spot. Jeez. Acronyms.
I know, I hate those things. Anyway, what were you?
It's not true. It's agreed. A nice down with Cisco. Michael says, I think you missed a semicolon there. You're right. 10 out of 10 would exploit again. Is that the review, Nathan, from the attacker?
All right. So confession. I learned what a CVE and CVSS were last night. Like, I'd heard CVE, but I hadn't looked up like what it means.
You know what? I knew the V stand for vulnerability. I didn't know what the C and the E stand for.
Yeah.
But
there's a whole thing around it and scoring and things like that. So it's, the more you dig into it, the more interesting it is. Not sorry, but not a Cisco fan. Well, fine. I'm going to show my shirt more to you, Michael.
Sorry, Michael with a not sorry, or sorry, not sorry, and +1 for Nathan's comment. I actually think Nathan's comment, I mean, we can do, we got a couple of comments. Oh my God, iOS is almost legal adult. It can drive, and it's not true. I've never seen a $2 million program worth a damn. But I think that, I don't know. I think Nathan's 10 out of 10 would exploit again.
Or the CVE Cisco vulnerability
environment. Yes. Okay. So here we go. We're going to create the poll. If you're on the YouTube who
has more vulnerabilities, Cisco or Microsoft? I think Microsoft might win that contest.
If you're on YouTube and you want to take advantage of this poll or participate in this poll, you need to be in Crowdcast. If you haven't come over yet, what are you waiting for? Get on the ball. Add. Okay. And now we're going to make this visible. Oh, it's visible. So there's a poll. There is a poll in the left-hand chat. So go ahead and cast your votes for the best comment for today's IT hot seat.
Oh, and we should wait and make sure they can see it, so we know how long we need to leave it open.
Well, I'm going to leave it up because I have a couple of closing statements here. While I read the closing statements, then people can go ahead and cast their vote for the victor for today's hot seat. Final thought. So we do have a couple of positions that are open. The one that I really want to anticipate, because we had him on this show, Dan Fay, the implementation engineer, he has taken another role here within Jumpcloud. So that position is now open. So the implementation team is part of our professional services offering. That is a consulting part of the professional services. So customers can purchase a block of time to speak with an implementation engineer to consult customers on their IT stack and how to move forward with their implementation with Jumpcloud. If that sounds like you and you have some experience in that world and you would like to apply, head on over to jumpcloud.com/careers, look under professional services for the implementation manager position.
Absolutely.
That was
I
a
mean,
lot
you
of
could
words.
you could come work with us. Well, I mean, not technically like with us, like but with us, because as you can see, we have a lot of fun.
You can say that you worked for that cool. You work with that cool guy, Ben.
They could say that, but would they?
I don't know how they could contain themselves.
I don't know.
We do have a web.
I've survived a full year this week of working with Ben, and I'm still here. So there you go.
And then last comment before we wrap up right on time. Patch Management Simplified How to Build an Efficiency and Secure Hybrid Work webinar on April 28th. That is being brought to you by Tom Bridge and Scott Reed, some of the mega hitters in that world. So head on over to jumpcloud.com/webinars, and you can register for that event. And if you register and you can't make it, don't fret. You'll receive a recording in your email. All right. Well, we're right at time. And we're looking at the votes here, and it looks like the winner, maybe a little bit pushed here from my part, but the winner with 6 votes is 10 out of 10 would exploit again in relation to the Cisco vulnerability and the hacker. Maybe I say that as like a hacker being like 10 out of 10. I would do that again. Yeah, 100%. Big impact. Well, that actually, first time we actually went over, but we have 2 likes on YouTube. Let's go. So we're going to have the VOD up on YouTube. We might have to replace the video. We'll see how that works. But if you liked having it on YouTube, if you liked this format, please let us know. You can find us on our community site on community@jumpcloud.com. We have an IT Hour forum there. You can post your comments and your feedback. You can also find us in the Slack lounge. And you can also reach out to us on community@jumpcloud.com. Also, since it is on YouTube, you can comment on the YouTube channel as well on that video, and I will see it as soon as it goes live. You can comment on there, and we will see it, and we can reach out to you there. So that's all I have for today. Thank you so much for joining again. Enjoy your fantastic weekend, and we'll see you back here next week with another amazing IT Hour show with Becky and Alexa and myself, and I might bring another friend. We'll see. So cheers, and have a good night or day.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Please subscribe and check out more content from us.